The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili on Thursday told the opening event of the Tbilisi Silk Road Forum that the middle corridor across Georgia is fast emerging as a stable and secure alternative to traditional roads. Georgia is positioned as a natural bridge at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. It is transforming day by day into a multidimensional regional hub. These were the main messages coming from the Prime Minister. Georgia matured to be a stable, secure and trustworthy partner, and the country made it a priority to be attractive and welcoming to foreign investors, said Levan Davitashvili, Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, while addressing Tbilisi Silk Road Forum, adding that all of the nations strive to develop favorable, predictable, business-friendly economies, and this is the path that Georgia has also been pursuing.
Why we are here today, the United States and our companies, is to continue to try to support this development and participate in it, because we know the true value of the middle corridor and Georgia's role in that middle corridor. So as ambassador here, I am absolutely committed to supporting the middle corridor. So I think this forum the Tbilisi Silk Road Forum is absolutely essential to bring together all of the private sector and the public sector, the leaders of the countries of the Middle Corridor, to help them develop this important transit way.
This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Kvanchilashvili, author and the host of the show. The Checkpoints today will have a different format. We will sum up the Tbilisi Silk Road Forum 2023 for you, which united more than 2,000 participants from the region and beyond, and more than 200 B2B meetings. The fourth Tbilisi Silk Road Forum, Connecting Today, Resilient Tomorrow, took place in Tbilisi on October 26-27, bringing together up to 2,000 delegates, high-ranking officials, as well as business representatives from over 60 countries. The high-level guests included Prime Ministers of Armenia and Azerbaijan, Nikol Pashinyan and Ali Asadov, respectively, who delivered opening remarks at the event.
It is clear that our region, the South Caucasus, needs durable peace. And what is peace? It is a state of affairs where countries live with open borders. They are connected by active economic, political, and cultural ties, with accumulated experience and tradition of solving all issues diplomatically and through dialogue. This is genuine peace. And all of this, including open borders, economic, political, and cultural ties, would be impossible without roads. This is the reason why our government has developed and presents the Crossroads of Peace project as an important part of the peace agenda. The essence of this project is to develop communications between Armenia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, the Islamic Republic of Iran, by means of renovating, building, and operating roads, railways, pipelines, cables, as well as electricity lines. The railways that pass through Armenia's north and south. They have been idle for 30 years now. Multiple roads connecting the east to the west are also idle, while reactivating these roads would have been a short and efficient way to link the Caspian Sea with the Mediterranean, both rail and automotive. Along the same lines, these rail and automotive communications could become an efficient route linking the Gulf with the Georgian ports, among others. Such a project would bring enormous benefits to all countries of our region. And I wish to invite the attention of governments and private investors to this opportunity. To be comprehensive, I think it's important to highlight the principles of the crossroads of peace, which are as follows. Principle number 1. All infrastructures, including roads, railways, airways, pipelines, cables, and electricity lines, operate under the sovereignty and jurisdiction of the countries through which they pass. Principle number 2. Each country, through its state institutions, in its territory ensures border and customs control and ensures the security of the infrastructures, including the passage through its territory of vehicles, cargo, and people. In fact, in the near future, a special unit will be created within Armenia's law enforcement system. And that unit will have the function of ensuring the security of international communications passing through Armenia, as well as the cargo, vehicles, and people using them. And of course, the unit will operate jointly with our patrol police. Principle number 3. These infrastructures can be used for both international and domestic transportation. Principle number 4. All countries, I beg your pardon, all countries use each other's infrastructures on the basis of reciprocity and equality. According to the principle of reciprocity and equality, border and customs control procedures can be somewhat streamlined too. I wish to reiterate Armenia's readiness to open, reopen, rebuild, and build all regional communications in accordance with these principles. The aforementioned principles are needed to avoid a number of misunderstandings, misreadings, and differing interpretations. In the near future, we will also officially present this project to the governments of our region's countries, and I hope with joint efforts, including the activity of investors, we will be able to implement this project.
As a result of operations conducted to increase the efficiency of Middle Corridor, important indicators are obtained in short period of time, both in rapidness and quality of transportations. For instance, the amount of time spent for goods delivery from Kazakhstan to the ports of Georgia is significantly reduced compared to previous years. Our target for next years is to shorten it up to 2 times. And I think that the work done in near term will give its benefits, and this corridor would become one of the safest and rapid corridors at the global level. It goes without saying that besides railways, the Middle Corridor's potential is closely linked with cargo handling capacity of ports. In this regard, the Baku International Trade Seaport, as one of the largest trade seaports at the Caspian Sea, is an important chain of mentioned international transportation corridors. Currently, the active work is underway to ramp up cargo handling capacity of this port from 50 million tons to 25 million tons. The ports of Poti and Batumi in Georgia are also important elements of Middle Corridor. At the same time, expansion of Kuleve port by Azerbaijan, located on the Georgia's Black Sea shores, will also contribute to Middle Corridor. We conduct our transportation operations in a coordinated way, both with Georgia and other partners in the region. It is gratifying to see that Georgia is also doing a great work in this area by modernizing its railways, constructing and expanding ports, and developing road infrastructure. Also, the Azerbaijani-Georgian cooperation agenda has the project of creating a new port infrastructure. We stand ready to cooperate in this area. Besides the ports, it is also very important to have a civil cargo fleet to ensure the transportation of goods. I would like to note in particular that Azerbaijan has the largest fleet at the Caspian Sea. The Baku shipyard successfully realizes orders to build and repair various purpose ships in line with the most modern requirements. In a view of new challenges, we actively work to expand the shipyard's capacity and broaden civil cargo fleet. All of these elements increase further the role of our countries as an important transit chains in intercontinental transportation. Also, new realities created in the region open up good opportunities to elevate regional multilateral cooperation into a qualitatively new level, and it will bring economic and trade dividends to all countries of the region.
Businesses have also summed up their B2B experience on the forum in front of the Checkpoints camera.
The Middle Corridor has tremendous potential, especially for Georgia, but also for our neighboring countries. It is not being fully utilized at the moment, although we've seen growth over the last couple of years, particularly since the start of the war. I think the real reason why the corridor is not living up to its potential is that there needs to be a better coordination between all the parties involved to understand where the roadblocks are so we can work together in partnership to overcome them.
More than 2,000 people are here from 60 countries. Shows how the platform is becoming a real gathering place for many of the business and governments in the region to come together and work on more strategic matter. We're really proud to have signed the comprehensive economic partnership agreements between UAE and Georgia just 2 weeks ago. It's going to boost the bilateral relations and investments from both sides to the level which we want to see more engagements between our private sector. As you all know, our non-oil trade last year reached $480 million with a growth of almost 115%. And I'm sure with the comprehensive economic partnership agreements, this is going to take it to a different level. We're planning to hit $1.5 billion in the upcoming 5 years. Investments is great as well. The UAE is the 6th largest investor here in Georgia, and I'm sure with the CEPA, this is going to be an attractive destination for many of the UAE investments to come and invest here in Georgia.
The Checkpoints held sit-down interviews with all the main international financial institutions and development partners of Georgia. The first guest on the show will be Roberta Casali, the Vice President of the Finance and Risk Management of the Asian Development Bank, ADB. She assumed the position in January 2022. Ms. Casali is responsible for the overall management of the operations of the Office of Risk Management, the Controller's Department, and the Treasury Department. Ms. Roberta, thank you for being with us and taking our questions. First of all, what was your main message today on this forum at the opening ceremony, and how do you evaluate? I mean, how can this forum be helpful not only for Georgia but also widely for the region?
But let me start saying that the presence is amazing. So 60 countries, more than 2,000 people here gives the concrete sense of how important is this forum. for your country, for the neighboring countries, as well as for many other stakeholders, such as in our case, we are ADB, a strong partner of the government of Georgia. We started, we are one of the key and old partner for this important event. And the event is definitely an occasion to discuss about the vision and the concrete actions that this country is implementing. And the message was very clear from the Prime Minister of Georgia, and followed also in a very coherent way with the other prime ministers on stage in the opening statement. So my impression was of the strategic importance of what the country, Georgia, means, and the strategic importance for the economic development of Georgia and the Caucasus and the Western Asia countries means. So the Middle Corridor is definitely a strategic infrastructure that can enhance cooperation, can develop and foster the economic development, the trade, the investments, and can bring not only public but also private capital at place to help the sustainable development of the whole region.
What could make this whole buzz about Middle Corridor and its importance a bankable project, so to say?
That's a very interesting question. A bankable project requires, of course, a set of conditions. But let me say, starting for a well-defined strategy is the first pillar. Without a well-defined strategy, and so the definition of the way to go is difficult, then private capital can be engaged. In this case, we are certainly verifying that the conditions of a strategy is in place, together with the help of the multilateral development institutions and other institutions like ADB, and with our strong relationship with the government, certainly we can help defining the policy and the conditions to have investment in place, both public and private together, as I was mentioned. And so to improve and to develop, you certainly need coherent investments that can create prosperity, better jobs, better infrastructures that improve the lives of the people living here, and that also let the commerce, so the trade and the investments flows. You are in a geographic position that is strategic, that is at a nodal point, and it was very clear the message that Georgia wants to become an economic and financial hub, but an infrastructure hub, so that again it is possible to move people, to move money, to move goods, and to increase the prosperity of the country.
Thank you for mentioning this key word in these terms, and that is definitely infrastructure. And we know how ADB is helping and supporting Georgia in this direction as well. What type of infrastructure? Because now we hear more focused conversations about building a Nakhlia port project, about building Namakhvani, so that Georgia could utilize its ability, transitability of energy. But we also know that all these projects, like large projects, are quite problematic projects for Georgia. So how do you see the way forward in this direction, in building this large key infrastructure projects? And do you see ADB's role there?
ADB is already an important actor and is close to your government. So the relationship is a long-standing relationship, a very fruitful one. So we have already supported in the road sector the construction of the East-West Highway, which is nearly under completion, which is an important infrastructure, of course. And it is a set of infrastructure. So the policy should regard not only roads, but also, as you were mentioning, ports. So promoting the construction of the strategic port of Anaklia is certainly important, together with improving the aviation system. So again, traveling by air will bring more people, more tourism, will boost, or no, has the potential to boost the tourism industry. And again, there ADB can help with a comprehensive reform or policy reform of the whole sector. We can also help in the logistics and in giving a coherent approach to all many different projects that regards your country and the countries that are close to your country. And in fact, but I mean, it's in progress. We will, together with your government, next year, define a country strategy program for Georgia, which is, in this case, as it is in other, of course, situations, a comprehensive set of projects, program, contribution, financing, and technical assistance. So the spectrum of instruments that ADB can use is large, and it has to be tailored exactly for the needs that the country requires.
So what could be the tangible results of this forum and of these conversations, and what could turn them into tangible results?
I really believe that always when people meet, it's important, because being in presence is a result per se, meaning that we really reduce our difference. We can speak frankly, we can understand better each other, we can discuss real problem. We establish contact here that can grow in another moment later. So again, it's a very good sign that so many people are here, and gives the importance of your country, gives the importance at international level of a forum like this. So really sincere congratulations for your government and for you are realizing with this forum. And we are with you. We are a strong supporter of this forum, because it increases for sure cooperation, and it increases for sure progress, because it's for the good that we are here. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next High-Five Voice is of the World Bank. Charles J. Cormier, the Regional Director for Infrastructure for Europe and Central Asia at the World Bank, sat down with the checkpoints. He has over 30 years of experience in infrastructure and sustainable development, including 20 years at the World Bank. In this role, Mr. Cormier's primary responsibilities are to build a team of professionals and provide strategic guidance to address the infrastructure gap in ECA. In accordance with the World Bank's mandate, the sustainable solutions on offer are robust governance and regulatory frameworks, crowding in private finance, enhancing the efficiency of public spending, and leveraging technology and innovation in fostering a transition towards resilient and low-carbon development.
Thank you for taking our questions and for being with us. My first question goes, of course, to the forum. It's meaning what were some of the key messages that you had towards the forum participants, and also what are some of the key takeaways that both businesses and also public leaders that were involved in this process could take home.
So very happy to be here, and I thought the forum was really well organized and quite impactful. The reason is that this region has been having a multi-crisis, poly-crisis, I would say. As we know, there are some geopolitical tensions, but also last year after COVID, or during COVID, we noticed a huge issue around supply chains, followed by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So we saw that huge differences in trade flows. And last year as well, because of, again, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, lots of challenges in gas supply to Europe, and Europe deciding to also decouple away from Russian energy markets. So energy prices went up by a factor of 4 to 5, which created a really huge energy crisis. So this forum, I think what it did, it brought together the public sector, the private sector, to discuss these big geopolitical challenges and look at also the opportunities. And Georgia in particular is a country that has been thinking about, because of its geopolitical situation, how to bring countries together around major infrastructure. Georgia being let's say at the center of an important region, trying to get countries to have a common vision. So what I heard in this forum was essentially great to meet face to face with people. I'm starting to hear a common vision around connectivity, around regional energy trade, around the middle corridor for logistics and trade facilitation, and also the opportunities around digitization, which is we think at the World Bank that it will create a huge impetus for job creation and for economic growth. So we're starting to hear how countries, how partners, how the private sector could come into these very structural projects. So I thought it was a very hopeful message and quite a timely event.
What about the middle corridor itself? Do you think this could become a reliable corridor even when, for example, sanctions on Russia are lifted? And what are some of the works to be done there?
A very good question. The middle corridor is already, let's say, the fastest land route between Western China and Western Europe. Of course, we know that there's a northern corridor. It's much longer, but already established. But the
and
middle
probably cheaper as well.
And cheaper, yes, correct. The middle corridor, though, saw an increase in trade of about 33% compared to last year in 2023. And we are about to publish a study that will soon come out where we're looking at also trade flow projections over the next decade, and we do think that the middle corridor is viable. Some people think about it as a redundancy, so as an alternate route, but for some markets, for containerized freight, if you improve the efficiencies around border crossing points, around logistics, improving the performance of the rail sector, you could attract a lot of that volume. And for open freight, already there's not too much alternatives. For the countries that are landlocked, the middle corridor is already viable. But we'll have some interesting numbers you'll see in the next few weeks on the trade projections and why we think the middle corridor is still viable, even if when peace breaks out eventually and we see a normalization, we do think middle corridor will be viable.
Can't wait to see that study. Also, what do you think should be China's role in the overall bigger picture?
So China, of course, is an important trading partner to many of these countries. China had a huge role to play in financing the northern corridor that goes through Russia. And also, essentially, Chinese companies do trade with Western Europe. So it'll be interesting and important to have China participate, and you'll see our trade flow numbers will incorporate that idea. I understood that at the last Belt and Roads Initiative meeting, China did announce that it wants also to invest in the Middle Corridor, so they're interested. The EU countries are interested, and the countries themselves in this region are interested. So we'll see how it goes, but interestingly enough, China it will participate. But we do think the Middle Corridor has a new idea. So this idea has been around for a long time, but we don't think that it only should capture trade between Western China and Western Europe. There's also the regional trade. The countries of this region, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, are countries that have been dependent on Russian trade, and they need to diversify their economies, and they need to improve trade with each other. And so as the old Silk Route was essentially built by manufacturing around different cities, which started to trade with each other, eventually became an entire route from continent to continent. This new Middle Corridor is also that. It's also should capture regional trade between countries. And so we do think that countries themselves will benefit from the Middle Corridor, not just on transit.
That is such a logical picture. Why do you think this neighborhood needed the pandemic first and then war to realize that the potential that the Middle Corridor has can be actually utilized?
That's a good question. I think if you think about 10 years ago and even 20 years ago, when China's manufacturing was doubling every so often, the Chinese themselves invested in trade corridors. They invested a lot in maritime transport, which is still relatively inexpensive, and the land route became one of their ways to reach to Western Europe. I think that maybe the conflict and the pandemic accelerated the drivers of the Middle Corridor. So yes, you're right that these two geopolitical events essentially brought to the fore the economic importance of the Middle Corridor. But our view is that this would have happened perhaps over a longer stretch, because as I said, these countries, Georgia, the South Caucasus, the Central Asian countries, need to diversify and increase their trade. So this would have happened. Perhaps we accelerated with these two drivers that we saw with the pandemic and the conflicts we're seeing.
At this point, it is quite hard to see what type of budget this whole concept of Middle Corridor has. Do you think World Bank's study could be like one step towards that, to show that this is actually a viable road in figures? Because sometimes when you think whether this project is bankable or not, the first question that comes to mind is what is the budget of the project, and we don't have answer to that question at this point in time.
So I think the Middle Corridor, the bank study on the Middle Corridor will start to answer some of those questions. It will not have a final figure, because the basic idea of it is that you identify investments that are needed in the short to medium term to address the inefficiencies. So what you look for is what are the barriers, and why is it that the trade corridor takes too long? What are the sticking points? So for instance, we initially thought that it was mostly about infrastructure. So let's look at where railway capacity is where there's an overcapacity of railway, and just build more lines. But it turns out that you'll see there's a lot of policy issues that need to be addressed. There are 14 different companies that are along this corridor. So how do they work with each other, and what are the bottlenecks, and what could be the methods to get them to improve their methodologies? On top of that, there's new technologies. We see digitalization as an important driver, and perhaps it's a way also to be more efficient. So our study will not come up with a full figure, but it will come up with priority investments that are needed in the short term to make the Middle Corridor more viable.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you are in a very tight schedule. My last question would be back to the forum. can we say that this first step of the memorandum signing between Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Kazakhstan could be like one step forward to lessening the bureaucracy of the middle corridor and showing the somehow showing the political will that these countries are committed to the project, and would that help to make this project bankable in the long run?
Absolutely. So it's very important when you realize these large infrastructure projects that require collaboration amongst different players of the private sector, the public sector, to have a shared and a common vision. And countries talking to each other and signing an MOU is the first step towards that shared vision. So I do think that is an important driver of this corridor. You asked earlier, why did this corridor not happen? Perhaps because there was no collaboration at the country level that we're seeing today. So it's a very important first step. It is really the critical first step.
Thank you so much for taking my questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Eleni.
EBRD has also shared its views on the forum and the potential of the middle corridor with the checkpoints. The bank was represented by Alkis Drakinos, director and the regional head of Caucasus. Starting his career at the National Bank of Greece in the 80s, he then joined the EBRD in 1993, and until 2000 he supported banking sector projects and started the EBRD office in Armenia before moving to the private sector, where from 2000 through to 2012, Alkis worked as senior manager corporate finance at KPMG, as international transition officer for the European Union mission in Kosovo, as principal banker at Black Sea Trade and Development Bank, and as head of new markets at Eurobank EFG. He rejoined EBRD in 2012 to head the EBRD office in Turkmenistan before taking the role of deputy director for Greece in 2015. In October 2017, he reopened the EBRD resident office in Tashkent, steering the EBRD engagement in Uzbekistan, and since September 1, 2023, Alkis assumed the role of EBRD Director Regional Head of Caucasus, leading the EBRD operational and policy work in Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia, based in Tbilisi. Mr. Alkis, thank you for being with us and taking our questions. My first question will be about the forum itself, your participation, your key messages and key takeaways from the forum.
Thank you very much, Eleni, for giving me the chance to share my views. Today's event has been, a remarkable one. It took some time until the third forum took place, and it was remarkable for me as a newcomer to the region, to sit at the same room together with the Prime Minister of Georgia and the Prime Ministers of Azerbaijan and Armenia, and also the Prime Minister of Montenegro, and have a dialogue on the challenges that we are facing today, in an effort to increase, to highlight the benefits of being connected with each other and talking to each other, and make proposals that are financial, also for lasting peace in the region. It was a really heavy, memorable event from that perspective. I'm also very happy and pleased that it happened in Tbilisi, which is the obvious destination for such events in the middle of the middle corridor. And as a representative of an organization, the EBRD, that is supporting the initiatives that will bring prosperity to the region as a whole. I'm very much interested to look and explore every opportunity where we can be a net contributor to the success of the process. Key takeaways is I really took note of the role and the ambitions that Georgia has in becoming a hub and a key participant, a key player in the Silk Road. I believe that this is an opportunity that the government will not lose. I am convinced of the political buy-in in this one, because there are a number of projects that the realization of which will bring, will make a difference in Georgia's economic growth and the prosperity of the people. Just picking one or two, we're talking about connecting Georgia with Azerbaijan in a bigger context, and there are infrastructure projects that we discussed, like the railway or the Anaklia port or the other infrastructure related projects, the railway, the airport that would be also eligible. I can imagine that this project, the realization of this project, will bring new skills, new economic impetus in the country. There will be side effects creating, skilled labor, attracting the attention, and it's like it will be like a virtuous circle, because these investments will attract and generate private sector interest. Private sector interest will make these investments profitable and meaningful, and one will bring the other, and there is only upside in this. Of course, it's difficult, it's challenging to realize as a project, but I believe that this is the main takeaways. I'm very optimistic that we made today a great step forward to realizing this concept.
Yes, one tangible result that we have even today is the memorandum that has been signed by the three parties, Georgia, Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, to have this one joint enterprise that will be monitoring the whole route of the middle corridor.
Who could imagine that a few years ago, right? That would be impossible. I took part before talking to you in a panel that was discussing about the CAREC countries' connectivity and the challenges they're making. And imagine that countries that are close to each other, not in this part of the world, not in Caucasus, but in Central Asia, that was the example. It is very, very difficult to trade apples from Kyrgyzstan to Kazakhstan, the procedures, the paperwork, the bureaucracy, and all these are practical issues that could have an easy solution if there is a political will to make these things more plausible, more easy for trade to happen. I can imagine that in our part of the world, in Caucasus, there are also key stumbling blocks in the way how the procedures, the non-so-advanced digitalization in the various important hubs and border crossings in the countries, in the region, work like impediments. So I can see that this particular project that you are mentioning it is just one concrete, big, very promising step forward to bringing the region together, actually to unleashing the potential. Goods will be coming from Kazakhstan. They will be shipped over to Baku. From Baku, they will be coming to Georgia, and from Georgia, they will be traded or shipped to Europe. The fact that there is already one company that founded today will make this dream situation just possible, right? It will streamline the procedures among three countries, and goods that will be loaded on the train in Kazakhstan will be going through this region, our region in Caucasus, very easily, like a very smooth operation. So it's very significant.
Is it a bankable project? And
which one?
The whole middle corridor and the whole buzz that it is about the middle corridor. Will this company actually operate through this middle corridor? Because it is a fact that this whole region needed a pandemic
than a war to realize that there is another route as well, right? Not only north.
So whether it is bankable or not, I would say, if I need to give one answer in 2 words, it depends, and what it depends upon. It depends upon the consistency of the political will, because among the countries, among the participants in the whole Middle Corridor, we need to alleviate, actually get enough comfort with what we call political risk. It's a chain of countries, and the success of the project will be as good, or the project will be as solid as the weakest link. So we need all the links, all the countries that are part of the Silk Road to have the very similar commitment level for the success. Now, there are countries like Georgia that are at the forefront, and they are, publicizing their interest, they are making it known, and maybe other countries are, let's say, following the example of Georgia in this. The fact is that events like the one today, or similar events that will happen, are bringing the countries together. So this political, comfort is being created as we speak. Is one major component of the risk evaluation of the project. Then, once this is looked after, then the other risks that we will have to look at are the operational risk. I mean, the complexity of putting these investments, the mastermind, the master plan that will create the infrastructure or the digital, platforms among countries. So there are a lot of things that are necessary to happen to make the success of the project certain. The bankability of the project is a function of how successful can it be, how the risks will be addressed. We as an institution are an institution that is very well placed to try to resolve the risks and be part of the financing. We have all the countries in the Silk Road are members of the EBRD. So we will be talking to the countries and liaising with the leaderships, trying to find, possible communication if there are obstacles somewhere on the way, and try to resolve with dialogue and also concrete technical proposals to give solutions to the problems. But as a matter of fact, the whole Silk Road, being a very complex project, can be broken down to some specific parts, and projects under the Silk Road concept could be prioritized. One of the projects that was brought to the EBRD attention recently was a project that will increase the capacity of the Aktau port in Kazakhstan, to bring in more goods from Kazakhstan to Baku. And this is a project that has the financing of which has been approved by our board. So this is, let's say, a priority project that we can look at. Coming to Georgia, we will look to other priority projects that make sense. And they show the Silk Road and the infrastructure of it, the logic of it will be strengthened step by step as project by project, that are components of the whole concept will be getting realized. It's difficult. That's why we need the political commitment and for a long period of time, and to feel that people are supportive and the environment will not change to make it totally bankable. So we are here to work on it.
You mentioned infrastructure projects several times, and the main main focus of the government today falls on modernizing railway and having some reforms there so that it is more commercially viable. Also a nuclear port project, the deep sea port project, and also for Georgia's ambition not to be only a transit country but maybe become some kind of a hub, for example an energy hub for the region. The big projects like Namakhwani, Khudoni, Neskra, all these HPPs that are currently stalled. But if you look at these big projects and large-scale projects, you will see that all of them have some kind of a problem with investors, with finding finances. So what should be the priority for the Georgian government? How do you see that?
What I can say is that there is a logic in how projects can be selected. We will know with some advisory which are the priority projects that make more sense, the ones that are more bankable. We can easily model with projections the utilization of the potential of a certain project. And there are also projects that come as a response to existing challenges. There is a lot of cargo going through Georgia right now, and I see the traffic jams in the highway and the burden it brings to the current road work. So by addressing this one, by the road work improvement becoming by default, a priority project, you have part of the answer. So there are projects that will come as solutions to problems that exist and are persisting, and they seem to be not going away if you don't do something about them. So this is one. Then there are projects that are conceptualized, and you will have the cable that you have the consultants looking, and then you have other big projects that have been maybe facing some problems. So then it means that if they cannot be realized as they stand, maybe there should be the scope of the project should be reviewed so that it becomes, as you say, bankable or operational, and it's a matter of risk. So, okay, there is some work, but it's easier than sometimes we think, oh, it's a big mountain. Going a big mountain, you start with the first step. So you address the projects and the problems that are now burning, and then the ones that are a little bit more strategic, and that's how you build up the value, the chain of the various projects that will make this project become a reality.
Do you see BRD's role in that direction increasing in Georgia?
Yeah, we will not do it alone. We are a financial institution that has a good track record in Georgia, and I'm very proud of this. But we will do it. We will have the government leadership and we will cooperate with the government, of course, in selecting and pointing the right projects. And we have the other IFIs, our partner IFIs, ADB, World Bank, IFC, to also work and look at the various projects, discuss co-financing and prioritize. So we are always, by definition, by our role as a development institution, ready to consider and help the government prioritize the right project at some point in time. One element is to try to mobilize the private sector because these big projects cannot happen on budget money. I mean, we don't want Georgia to borrow too much, or any other country, from financial institutions like ourselves. We support Georgia's prudent macroeconomic policies, and we admire Georgia for the growth it has achieved so far, and the good macroeconomic performance, and we clap, we applaud. We don't want this to be destabilized. So we know how much the system can take in terms of borrowing, and we will be working with our partners and the government to make a plan that makes sense.
Thank you so much. And my last question, do you think that regional cooperation is gaining its momentum, and how should Georgia balance its, for example, political vectors that is more towards European Union and more like global integration, and also focusing on regional cooperation?
The region is gaining momentum because I understand that it's not only Georgia who has aspirations to become a European Union member state, and it's working hard, and I also follow the news on what is going on with Brussels, with negotiations, with high-level visits there. I also understand that from the neighboring countries, I mean, the whole region of Caucasus also has, you know, a role to play and has ambitions, and they look at the prospects of becoming, you know, more connected to Europe with trade also. So I believe there is momentum, and in today's occasion, for example, when I see the two neighboring country prime ministers in the same table, is just a strong message that make me, you know, as a citizen of the world, really hope that, you know, change is happening and I want to help it happening as an institution.
Thank you for helping Georgia for years, for more than 30 years as an institution, and thank you for this interview as well.
Thank you.
We will hear more from our strategic partners on the checkpoints about a variety of issues, but this week, Middle Corridor Silk Road Forum were definitely the key buzzwords. We will meet each other on Sunday, 11 a.m. sharp. Before that, follow us on BM.G and keep watching BMG TV, the only business and economics-oriented independent private TV channel in the whole South Caucasus.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.